When you think of gold mining in Indonesia, the massive Grasberg mine in Papua, one of the biggest gold and copper mines on Earth, probably comes to mind. But there's another gold rush happening here that doesn't involve billion-dollar companies or heavy machinery. This is the world of artisanal and small-scale gold mining, ASGM for short. And in Indonesia, much of it happens in the country's thousands of rivers, using surprisingly simple yet effective techniques. I'm talking about gold dredges, high-pressure water hoses, and sluice boxes. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how these river miners find their gold, the incredible scale of this industry, and the environmental challenges they face. Let's dive in. To truly understand river gold mining in Indonesia, we first need to grasp just how widespread ASGM has become. Artisanal and small-scale gold mining is now located in 94% of all Indonesian provinces, 32 out of 34, and nearly half of all regencies, up to 200 out of 514. This isn't just a fringe activity, it's a massive, decentralized industry that has spread across the entire archipelago. But why has ASGM exploded like this? Several factors have converged. First, the international price of gold has surged by more than 70% since early 2025, as central banks and investors buy precious metals to hedge against political uncertainty and high inflation. Higher prices mean more incentive for individuals to try their luck. Second, many of these operations sprung up on the abandoned sites of former state-run mines. Today, an estimated 2 million people are directly employed in ASGM in Indonesia. That's about the population of Slovenia, and many more depend on the associated supply chains, equipment sellers, gold buyers, food vendors. The sector is a vital economic lifeline for rural communities with few other opportunities, but it also comes at a cost, and we'll get to that later. First, let's look at the tools of the trade. River gold mining techniques, dredges, hoses, and sluices. Let's break down the three core techniques: dredges, water hoses, and sluice boxes. They work together as a system. The suction dredge, the heart of the operation. A gold dredge is essentially a floating vacuum cleaner for the riverbed. It uses a high-pressure hose and nozzle to vacuum up water, sediment, gravel, and small rocks from the river floor. This slurry is then pumped through a hose into a separation system. The size of the dredge determines how much material you can process. Small-scale operators might use portable units with 2 to 4-inch hoses. More serious commercial operations use dredges with 4 to 8-inch hoses and powerful centrifugal pumps. The dredge is mounted on pontoons or a raft, keeping it stable on the water. The operator controls the suction nozzle underwater, directing it into the most promising areas, typically inside river bends, behind boulders, or in bedrock cracks where heavy gold particles naturally settle. The sluice box, where the magic happens. Once that sediment water mixture is sucked up, it goes straight into the sluice box. And this is where gravity does its work. A sluice box is an artificial channel equipped with riffles, obstacles, or ridges on its bottom. These riffles create areas of reduced water flow where heavier gold particles can settle out, while lighter materials like sand and gravel are washed away. The bottom of the sluice is typically lined with carpet or specialized mining mat, sometimes called miner's moss. This material traps the fine gold particles that might otherwise escape. In Indonesia, you'll often see large sluice boxes constructed from wooden timbers and lined with plastic and carpets. They're simple, effective, and built from locally available materials. Water hoses and hydraulicking. But what about gold that's not just sitting loose in the riverbed? That's where high-pressure water hoses come in. A technique called hydraulicking uses a powerful water cannon, sometimes called a monitor, to blast riverbanks and expose gold-bearing gravel layers. The high-pressure water breaks up compacted sediment, creating a slurry that can then be processed through the sluice. This is particularly useful in Indonesia's tropical rivers, where heavy rainfall and seasonal flooding can deposit new layers of gold-bearing sediment. After floods, miners will target fresh deposits using this technique. Some operations combine all three methods: a suction dredge to process underwater material, a water hose to break up riverbanks, and a sluice box to capture the gold. It's a complete mobile processing plant floating right on the river. Put it all together, and here's what happens. The miner positions the dredge in a promising spot. The high-pressure hose breaks up the riverbank or riverbed. The suction nozzle pulls that material into the system. The slurry travels through the hose to the sluice box, where the gold settles behind the ripples, while the lighter material flows out the end. Periodically, maybe every few hours or at the end of the day, the miner will clean up the sluice, removing the carpet and riffles to collect the concentrated gold material. This concentrate is then further processed, often by panning, to separate the pure gold from any remaining black sand or heavy minerals. In a good location with rich deposits, a skilled operator can recover tens to hundreds of grams of gold per day. At current gold prices, that's serious money, which explains why so many people are drawn to this work. The dark side, mercury and environmental impact. So far, we've focused on the mechanical techniques, but there's a darker aspect to ASGM in Indonesia that we can't ignore, and it has to do with a toxic heavy metal, mercury. While the dredge and sluice system is relatively clean, it uses only water and gravity. Many ASGM operations add mercury to the process. Here's why and how. After running material through the sluice, miners end up with a heavy concentrate that contains fine gold particles mixed with other minerals. Separating those tiny gold flakes can be difficult, so they add liquid mercury. Mercury forms an amalgam with gold. Basically, the mercury wets the gold and forms a solid, silvery blob that contains both metals. The miner then separates this amalgam from the remaining material and heats it over an open flame. The mercury vaporizes, leaving behind a small button of relatively pure gold. That vaporized mercury goes into the air, where it can travel for hundreds of miles before settling back to Earth in rain or dust. And the leftover mercury that's not recovered, it gets dumped with the tailings, often directly into the river. The consequences are devastating. Studies show that mercury from historical and active ASGM sites can leach into water bodies, forming pools of elemental mercury on river and lake beds, creating sources of long-term contamination. This mercury works its way up the food chain, accumulating in fish and other aquatic life. In West Java's Simpenan district, researchers have documented mercury contamination in river water, sediment, and even the fish that local communities rely on for food. On Buru Island, river, estuary, and marine ecosystems downstream of ASGM operations are exposed to dangerously high mercury concentrations that are impacting aquatic food chains and fisheries resources. It's estimated that over 40,000 tons of mercury-contaminated soil exist in just two regencies, Gorontalo and North Minahasa, and there are at least 800 contaminated sites distributed across Indonesia. Miners and community members living in ASGM hotspots have been found to suffer from mild to severe mercury intoxication. Indonesia has ratified the Minamata Convention on Mercury, an international treaty aimed at reducing and eventually eliminating mercury use, but implementation is challenging when mercury is cheap, effective, and available. The good news is that mercury-free alternatives exist. Improved sluice box design, gravity concentration tables, and direct smelting methods can recover fine gold without the toxic side effects. But these methods require education, investment, and a willingness to change. And for miners living hand-to-mouth, that's a tough sell. The Indonesian government faces a classic dilemma. How do you regulate an industry that employs 2 million people while also protecting the environment? The approach has been shifting from outright prohibition to a strategy of legalization and formalization. In 2025 and early 2026, several provincial governments announced plans to legalize existing illegal mining operations by granting community mining permits, known as IPR. Importantly, these new permits come with restrictions on mercury use and equipment limits. Each miner will be allowed only one heavy machine and one mining raft. The goal is to control the scale of operations and reduce environmental damage, particularly to the Kuantan River, a vital water source for around 1 million people. So here's where we stand. Indonesia's rivers contain significant gold deposits, and 2 million people depend on ASGM for their livelihoods. The techniques, dredges, water hoses, sluice boxes are effective and on their own relatively low impact. But the addition of mercury has created an environmental and public health problems. The good news is that solutions exist. Mercury-free processing. If you're a miner watching this, I encourage you to explore mercury-free methods. Thanks for watching Gold Mining Tips.